restaurant in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Ristorante Giannino was located right next to Harvard Yard, and it was in the four-diamond Charles Hotel, which was right next to Harvard Yard, and that's where all the wealthiest parents and patrons stayed whenever they visited. It was tucked away at the end of a glorious courtyard that was decorated with flower bins and Roman pillars with winding vines. So because of the hidden off-street location, as well as our world-famous Northern Italian cuisine, our restaurant was frequented by celebrities. So not only did they not have to worry about the passerby and paparazzi, but our manager, Brenda, was adamant on making us pretend that we didn't even notice, other than the hand-over-foot servitude, whenever we waited on someone who carried a buzz. No chatting, no questions, and absolutely no autographs ever. Which is totally understandable. Why? Because it was only because of the no-hassle service that our eminent guests received, along with their gourmet meals, that they kept coming back for more and spreading the word within their highly acclaimed circles. In fact, I actually rather liked the practice of talking to the rich and famous as if they were no more special than any of our other guests. There was only one time I ever had a problem with this policy, and that was due to the undying love and adorable fanaticism of a young busboy named Juan. Juan was a baby-faced teenager from Brazil. He had just immigrated to the States to join his mother, Fatima, who worked in our kitchen. He was 15 years old and still growing into his lanky body. He had big brown eyes and the most intoxicating infatuation with all things U2. Every single day, he would come to work with a different U2 shirt on, always sporting this black baseball cap. It was a close-up of Bono's face, complete with the Star Trek-looking shades in mid-sing. And Juan had told me many times that his biggest dream in life was to meet Bono. And so, as you're probably guessing, one sunny spring day, who should stroll in for a late Sunday morning brunch but Bono, his wife, accompanied by a couple important-looking men in suits. Only Juan wasn't there that day. The cruel plight of humanity, right? So a few minutes after they were seated in my section and brought menus and specials and fizzing glasses of Pellegrino, all on-duty wait staff and bussers met in an empty side room. Nearly in unison, we said, "Oh my God, we have to call Juan." But of course, Brenda was also well aware of his infatuation. So a second later, she was there. She flew through the door, already steaming. "If any of you call Juan, that will be your job. And I mean it." She gave each of us this evil eye before storming out. But we were in agreement. We still had to call him. Anyone who had talked to this kid for more than a minute knew that Bono was his greatest inspiration in life. He had been the reason Juan had found the courage to immigrate at such a young age. And Juan was the sweetest and most innocent kid I had ever met. And we all loved him way more than we feared Brenda. So we came up with the Fuck Brenda Pact. The Fuck Brenda Pact was where we all promised, we vowed that whenever she asked, we would each say we did it. I imagined it would be like a scene from some heart-tugging high school drama where the students join forces to overcome the corrupt fascist authority. And besides, Brenda could not fire all of us. There was no way. She needed us. So we pinky swore and we did the deed. And I went back out to the dining room. Now, Bono and his wife were the nicest couple ever. They were casual and friendly and as sharp as the Irish cheddar they grew up on. Bono, he didn't want tomatoes on his frittata del giorno, and one of his legs was noticeably longer than the other one, which was made apparent by a different size of his heels on his platform sandals. And yes, he did wear his shades throughout the entire meal. And his wife, Allie, was so cool. She wasn't wearing any makeup. She was so genuine. She told me all about her days as a waitress, and she literally helped stack the plates after each course for me. So sweet. They were completely unpretentious and engaging and promptly caused me to feel guilty about any and all shit-talking on YouTube that I might have previously been inclined to do. So ever since Juan was called, we were all on lookout, just hoping that we'd be able to catch him and keep him away from Brenda. But the only way to get to the restaurant was across this vast courtyard, and Brenda was on high alert as well. So I go into the kitchen to pick up another tray of food, and I come back out, and I see him approaching the front door. He's bouncing with joy. He's got his Hallmark Bono hat on, Bono shirt, rolled up posters, stack of CDs, and a brand new digital camera with the tag hanging off. But Brenda sees him too. And she stops him in the doorway. And as I'm coming by, I just see she's this broiling glare, and she growls at him. She says, "Juan, go away. Go away right now, or you are fired." And I watched as his face just transformed into terror. His mouth dropped open, his eyes are watering as he's frantically looking around, trying to catch just one tiny glimpse of his longtime hero. My heart broke in half as he turned around and started to walk away. He looked like a kicked puppy, constantly looking back over his shoulder, hoping to see any signs of pity, but there was none, not from Brenda. So defeated, he retreated back across the courtyard and left. We were all crushed, but he was gone and there was nothing else we could do. So after a long and leisurely brunch, the Bono party finished up, and they playfully bickered for a moment over who would pay the bill, and after one of the suits won and a very generous tip was left for yours truly, they headed for the door. Myself, Brenda, and a few other starry-eyed waitstaff walked them to the outdoor patio. And as they were leaving, they turned around and waved one last goodbye, and we all stood there looking like a happy family waving back at them. We watched as they crossed about 100 or so feet down the courtyard. And then, out from behind a large, well-pruned bush, pops our beloved Juan. I can hear Brenda boiling under her skin, mumbling threats and curses under her hot-held breath, every one of us stunned by his audacity. But after jumping out, Juan does nothing. He is in shock of his own impulsiveness. He's standing there like a wide-eyed, frightened fawn, holding his camera up in trembling hands. And then, suddenly, aggressively, Bono steps forward and tears the camera out from Juan's hands. He's holding it up like he's 2 seconds from smashing it, and he looks pissed. All I can think of is the scene from Annie when Daddy Warbucks throws the camera of the Ricky reporter into the stairwell. I am appalled by Bono's hostile behavior. I couldn't believe it, especially after what I just experienced. We're all appalled. And poor Juan, out a job and a hero on the same day. But instead of smashing the camera, Bono takes the neck hole of his shirt with his other hand and opens it up. And he takes the camera and shoves it into his shirt and starts snapping away. Much to all of our surprise. After taking a few more shots of his naked chest, he throws an arm around Juan and takes a picture of them together at arm's length with a shit-eating grin on his face. He takes them all, and then his wife joins in on the other side of Juan, and they do a series with Juan in the middle, and they start asking him questions, and they shake his hand, and there are hugs and autographs as I'm witnessing heaven on earth for our little busboy Angel. So Brenda lets out this deep and constipated sigh before going back inside. After a couple more minutes of jovial attention, Bono bows his goodbyes to Juan and they carry on their way. Juan looks back at us and his face is just pale and exuding shock. And then, like a cheerleader, he jumps into the air. Seriously, his entire body, both feet, with thumbs up in sailing victory. A couple days later, I go to work, and everybody is gathering in the break room. I walk in to find Juan he's reaching into his backpack, and he pulls out a stack of newly developed photos. So he's passing them around, and we are all cracking up at images of Bono's nipples. And Brenda walks in. Total silence. But before she says anything, Juan pulls out a framed photo and holds it up. It's an image of him with Bono and his wife on either side, and they're both kissing his cheeks. Brenda looks at it and looks at Juan, and then just shakes her head and rolls her eyes and leaves. And no one was fired.